The fairy he earth. He hid her wings so she could not leave. She stayed. She gave him children. Then she found the wings. This is not a love story. Chapter 1. The Wings in the Water. Deep in the mountains of Joseon, where the world of man and the world of heaven once stood close enough to touch, there was a man who had nothing. No wife, no children, no future. His name was Woodcutter June, and he lived alone with an axe and a hunger that gnawed at him like winter itself. One autumn morning, a tiger appeared on the path before him, not to attack, but to warn. Go to the pool beneath the eastern waterfall. Tonight, the heavenly maidens descend to bathe. Take one's robe of feathers. Hide it. Do not give it back no matter how she weeps. Do this, and you will no longer be alone. June told himself it was a dream. But his feet knew the way. That night, he crouched behind the rocks and watched light fall from the sky. 7 women descended, creatures of impossible beauty, laughing like bells, their feathered robes shimmering with starlight. They stepped out of their robes and into the water. June moved without thinking. He crept forward, seized the smallest robe, the one belonging to the youngest, whose laugh was the brightest, and buried it under a stone. When the maidens rose to leave, 6 robes returned to 6 women. The 7th woman stood alone at the water's edge, hands searching the empty air. Chapter 2. The Woman Without a Sky. Her name was Soha. In heaven, she had moved like water fluid, untouchable, eternal. Now she stood barefoot on cold stone, watching her sisters rise into the sky without her. She did not scream. She had no voice for what was happening to her. She simply watched the last shimmer of light disappear beyond the clouds, and felt the world close around her like a fist. Then the man stepped out of the shadows. June, do not be afraid. I mean you no harm. Come, my house is warm. You can stay until you find your way. Soha looked at him the way a deer looks at a hunter who has already fired. She had no choice, and they both knew it. A fairy without her robe cannot fly, cannot return to heaven, cannot be anything but what the earth forces her to become. She followed him. What else could she do? And June telling himself he was helping her, that this was destiny, that she would come to love him in time, walked ahead, and did not look back at her face. Chapter 3. The Shape of a Life. Seasons passed. Then years. Soha learned to cook rice over an earthen hearth. She learned the weight of a water jar on her back, the sound the market made, the way June's house smelled in winter. She learned all the small acts that constitute a life. She bore him 2 children, a boy, then a girl. They wrapped themselves around her like roots, and she found, to her own grief, that she loved them. She grieved it because she understood what it meant. You cannot love your chains and call them chains. June believed she had healed. He watched her hold their daughter and smiled. He thought she is content. He thought this is love. He allowed himself to forget what he had done, or rather, he told a different story about it. A story in which he had saved her. A story in which the tiger's advice was fate, not theft. Only at night, when the children slept, did Soha sit beneath the open sky and press her hand flat against the earth, not to feel the ground, but to remember what it felt like to leave it. The sky above her was always silent. Heaven did not speak to those who could not reach it. Chapter 4. The Tiger's Second Word. The tiger returned in the 7th year. June found it waiting on the mountain path, the same ancient eyes, the same unreadable face. He had not thought of the robe in years. He did not think of it now. He tried to walk around the tiger, but it stepped to block him. Tiger, give her back the robe. June, she is my wife. She is happy. Tiger, you did not ask her. June, she stayed. She loves our children. She loves. Tiger, you hid the door and then told yourself she chose to stay inside. June walked home without answering. He did not move the robe. That night he watched Soha nurse their youngest child and told himself the tiger was wrong. He almost believed it. Chapter 5. The Finding. It was their daughter who found it. The girl, 6 years old, small and curious, had followed a beetle behind the old storage building and found a large flat stone that did not match the others. She called for her mother. Soha came. She looked at the stone. She knew, she had always known, in some wordless part of herself, that the robe was somewhere close. You cannot entirely sever a fairy from her sky. She moved the stone herself. Her hands did not shake. The robe still shimmered, years underground, and it had not dimmed. She touched it, and for the first time in 7 years, she felt the sky not above her, but inside her. a warmth behind her ribs. The memory of flight. She stood for a long time holding the robe and looking at her children playing in the courtyard. Her daughter had her nose. Her son had her eyes. She looked at the sky. Then she looked at them again. Chapter 6. What she left behind. The folk story says she took the children. That she wrapped one under each arm and rose into the sky, and that heaven, moved by pity, allowed them all to ascend together. But the folk story was told by those who needed it to end well. What the mountain remembers is different. Soha put the robe on. It fit as if no time had passed, as if the 7 years had been a dream pressed between someone else's pages. She could feel the sky pulling at her, impatient, the way the sea calls to a woman who has stood too long on shore. She knelt before her children one last time. She pressed her face against her daughter's hair. She whispered something to her son, something that would not be heard, something that would not be remembered, something that crossed no border we can follow. Then she rose. Her son reached up. His small hand closed on empty air. June came running from the field when he heard the children crying. He looked up just in time to see the last shimmer of light vanish beyond the clouds. The same clouds he had watched the night he made his choice, in the same mountain, in what now felt like another lifetime. June alone, to no one. I loved you. Perhaps he did. It does not change what he did. These two facts exist together, unresolved, the way most true things do. Chapter 7. What the mountain knows. This is what is told around fires in the mountains of Joseon, where the old stories still live between the trees. There are pools where heaven touches earth. There are women whose wings were taken by men who called it love. There are children who grow up reaching toward a sky their mother returned to, not knowing whether to mourn or to be proud. And there is a woodcutter, in some versions young and foolish, in others old and bitter, who goes to the pool every evening for the rest of his life. Who watches the water? Who never sees what he is hoping for? The tiger is never seen again. Some say it was a god in disguise. Some say it was her Soha herself in the only form that could speak truth to a man without being dismissed. Some say it was simply a tiger, and that even tigers know when something is wrong. And somewhere above the clouds, a woman moves through heaven like water fluid, untouchable, eternal, wearing a robe that still smells, faintly, of pine. Smoke and earthen floors and the two small hands that used to reach for her in the dark. She does not look down. Or perhaps she does, every night, when no one in heaven is watching. We do not know. The story does not say.